I'm Wendy Fink. I'm a state representative from District 94, which is in southern York County, and I'm here to have a chat today with Secretary Redding. Thank you, Secretary, for joining us.
Yeah, honored to. Happy New Year, happy Farm Show.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So this is the 109th Farm Show. Can you tell me why it's so important to have an annual event as opposed to maybe every 5 years or 2 years?
Well, I think it's one way to mark time. I mean, I think it's sort of interesting, right? Like it's a New Year tradition just to launch the year with the Farm Show. But the pace of change, the chance to bring people together every year to talk about the importance of ag to the economy. And I think it's ag's a great unifier, right? You bring people in, you look around, most of these folks are on the consumer side and not on the producer side. But it gives us a chance to really sort of do some education, outreach, but bring people together.
Yeah, absolutely. I for one, am happy it happens every year.
Yeah,
it's a great family fun. I have my girls here with me today.
Yeah.
We've already had our milkshake, so we're good. And it has wonderful, wonderful educational opportunities, so I'm glad to spend the day here with them.
Good.
So this year's theme, what is this year's theme and what does it mean for the Commonwealth?
Yeah, so this year's theme is Powering Pennsylvania. And we just, to say that we put a lot of thought into something that's both descriptive of what we think is happening and a good sort of reminder as you say it to those at the Farm Show, like, okay, that makes sense. And this is powering is obvious in the nutrition side, powering in the energy side is obvious. Not so obvious is sort of the power of that community, right? And you see it in the Delta as I see it in Adams County, where that agricultural community is really important to the fabric of the community, right? The food and environment and good stewards, good people. So that's all part of power.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a wonderful theme, and it brings up good conversations for within our community, absolutely.
Yeah.
So looking ahead, what opportunities do you foresee for Pennsylvania agriculture in 2025? And can you share some of the department's goals?
Yeah, I'd love to. I mean, this is a dynamic year. We're off to a great start. We have a transition in the legislature just being seated. Thank you for your service and work. We've got a federal transition, which is also critical to what we do here. So a lot of things we need to do. I always use this table as a great example. So this is all PA hardwoods, right? So what happens? We send $1 billion of this somewhere else outside of the country. So trade's part of the needs and priority for the year. Certainly looking at innovation. We had an innovation fund that we've created with your help, thank you, last year in the budget, and we're seeing the benefits of that. We're going to go Western Lab, Animal Health Lab, to help us deal with some of the issues around like avian influenza that we're dealing with right now. And then you've got a lot of sort of land and stewardship and conservation needs that we've put a lot of focus on. The year ahead, as I look across to the pollinators, we've got a Pollinator Protection Act that we want to try to get through the legislature. Bees are important to us, right? Every third bite that we take is thanks to a bee. So that's important. I want to make sure we're doing the right thing on conservation and supporting the York Conservation District as an example, keep the momentum that we have. And then just from an economic standpoint, I think we're in a global market, but we also need to be very sensitive to our farms. At the end of the day, they need a margin, right, to stay in this business. So a lot of things to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the governor's been pretty loud about his push for organic.
Yeah.
So can you explain to me, we're going to go back in time just a little bit.
Yeah.
So can you explain to me the fight against Amos Miller? Because quite honestly, it doesn't get much more organic than raw milk. So what was that big fight about, that big push?
It's very, very simple. I say it every day. The one thing that Amos continues to refuse to do is to get a permit, to be permitted to sell that milk in the commercial space. That's the only thing we ask of every permit holder. There's 116 of them across the state. They, by law, it's a law that we have to enforce. There's a raw milk law. The law says get a permit, test every quarter, and you're good to go. That's all that is. So the challenge I've had with it is we have a lot of great producers. We're putting really good product out. We've got raw milk cheese right up the aisle. You can do all of that, but you need a permit. That's what the law requires to do. Organic, it can be, you can have raw milk that's not organic. It can also be organic. That's a whole different standard, USDA standard. So if they claim that, I'm not sure about Amos, by the way, but that's a USDA standard to me. Our only standard to state is the raw milk permit from the Department of Ag.
So I'm a huge advocate of small government, more liberties, and I want to be sure that the government isn't assuming authority that they don't have or shouldn't have.
Yeah.
And we've seen this with, and we can agree to disagree with the shutdown of Amos Miller production. And I've had farmers in my district that have spent a month in jail for contempt, having to deal with practicing veterinarian medicine. And again, I'm sure we can disagree on that topic, but
So just let me say on the raw milk, it's a sensitive, and I've talked to a lot of legislators about it. The sensitivity, we're one of the states that allow raw milk. The law, there's a law. This isn't like Russell Redding or PDA. There's a law that was passed that says if you want to sell raw milk, you get a permit. That's a law that was passed by the legislature and signed by the governor many, many years ago. So that came to the department to administer. So we're in this moral dilemma. I have a law that says you do it. I can't ignore it. You've got 116 other raw milk producers in the state that are doing exactly what they need to do and thriving as well. So that's our dilemma, is that I've got something to do that the laws require me to do.
Right.
So we have to be careful. This is not other states have banned it and don't allow it. We love it. I like it. I like the people doing it. Just need to make sure we do it within the framework of the law.
Right, and I would love to see the laws loosen up a little bit on that so that our Amish community in particular is be able to farm in the way that is best for them, in the way that fits their culture, and the government isn't putting a stop to that and intruding where they ought not to be intruding. So I would like to see some of those things loosen up for our farmers to make it a little easier for them. So many of the products here at the farm show have that PA Preferred logo. Can you explain what that means and why we should pay attention to it?
Yeah, so we spend a lot of time, trying to, support agriculture and in a marketplace that's got a normal grocery store has got 40,000 items. Most of us find it difficult to know, like, what is from Pennsylvania, unless you know the brands, right? So the PA Preferred, there's 1,100 companies. It's 20 years old. It's the keystone with a check mark. It says PA Preferred. That is the guarantee to consumers that it was produced and processed here in Pennsylvania. So you have comfort when you see it that that's a Pennsylvania product, right? We've gone one step further with organic to say we're going to connect where it's produced with how it's produced. So the PA Preferred Organic is related to that, just being launched this year. But excited about it. You'll see it over the complex, but the background is connecting those producers with the consumers.
Yeah, absolutely. If we can buy local and from Pennsylvania, that's a wonderful thing. So we ought to be paying attention to that. That's fantastic.
Buy local makes a difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference.
So what advice would you give to our young farmers who have grown up on these farms, oftentimes generational farms, that are really wavering now, whether to continue the family farm or move on to something else? So what advice would you give them?
Well, I think they're under a lot of pressure, land pressures and market pressures and labor pressures. Everywhere you look, there's another pressure. But I'm also encouraged. We've got more young farmers under the age of 35 than any other state in the nation. Preservation, York County is a great example of that. Anybody who's in it and is there, we want you to stay there. If you're contemplating a change, I think talking about what services they need, right? If you need transition assistance, if you need professional consultants to help sort of figure out like what enterprise and what to do, that's available through the Department of Ag and the Ag Business Development Center. But there's so many opportunities. It's, I'm excited about what I see, the diversity. Folks are really doing some interesting direct market, particularly where we live. But yeah, there's a lot of opportunities there. Yeah,
absolutely. So the more time I spend with my farmers, I realize it's not just farming. Yeah. There's so much technology that's involved and communications and all kinds of different opportunities there.
There's about 10 or 15 growing sort of like requirements, right? Mechanical skills and accounting and business and marketing. On top of that, they have to be good at what they do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking time to chat
Thank you.
with me.
Good to see you. Thank you.